This is Hannibal from the HannibalTV.com, and of course this week WWE Hall of Famer Larry Abdullah The Butcher Shreve had a big retirement ceremony in Japan, and because of this a lot of people have been messaging me about Abdullah, wanting to know whatever happened with the negligence, assault, and battery judgment I had against him related to him cutting me with an unsanitary Hepatitis C infected razor blade in a 2007 professional wrestling match that I ended up getting judgments on him in both Canada and the US for. Well, just a bit of a history on what happened. In 2006, I was tested for hepatitis and was negative. In 2007, I had a match with Abdullah The Butcher where we were both bleeding. I was bleeding from my own cuts. He was bleeding from his own cuts. And at one point in the match, he decided to take a razor blade that he had already been using on himself and put this bloody razor blade directly into my head and cut me about 5 times, which of course puts his blood directly into my bloodstream. He did not have my permission to do this, and he did not tell me that he had hepatitis C prior to doing this. A couple years later, I ended up getting a WWE contract after being in the wrestling business 8 years, wrestling in Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, the UK, Canada, many parts of the US. Finally, I realized my dream after being told by Pat Patterson that I was the best wrestler in the camp that I was signed from. Numerous wrestlers from that camp went on to have WWE careers. Unfortunately, I failed the medical for WWE, the pre-contract medical, causing my contract to be rescinded. And the reason I failed the medical was because I was hepatitis C positive at the time. Now, around this time, we started to try and get Abdullah The Butcher's blood work due to the incident where he cut me with the unsanitary razor blade. It took approximately 2 years for my first lawyers to get the blood work from Abdullah. When we finally got the blood work, it found that he was hepatitis C positive, genotype 2, the same genotype of hepatitis C that I have. He also has a history of colonoscopy, whatever that is. I don't know how to pronounce it, but basically he had to have his gallbladder removed, and the gallbladder is related to the liver. So he had liver problems for a long time. He also had fatty infiltration of the liver and a history of hepatitis C. So he had known he had had hepatitis C for quite a while when he cut me with the infected razor blade. Finally, in 2014, the issue with Abdullah and I went to court in Canada. It was in court for about a week, and ultimately I had a judgment granted of $150,000 in general damages. My lost income to the date of the trial, which was $63,652. Of course, that took into account a settlement I had from WWE related to my lost income, and then $2 million in future lost income. This was due to my WWE contract being rescinded, and an actuary calculated the average that a WWE wrestler makes in their career. There's no telling how good or bad I would have done in WWE because my chances were ruined due to Abdullah The Butcher. I was also awarded $140,000, 764 in legal costs, which I had to pay in legal fees, and $30,000 in family law act claims for the pain and suffering my loved ones had to go through in related to my hepatitis C. Unfortunately, the legal process, because Abdullah The Butcher lives in Georgia, we then had to get the judgment endorsed in the state of Georgia which was another case in itself. It took us 2 years to get the judgment endorsed in Georgia. We did win in the state of Fulton County, Georgia in 2016. Abdullah appealed that judgment, and his appeal was thrown out in 2017. Unfortunately, in between the times of the Canadian judgment and the American judgment, he was able to close his restaurant, sell the property of the restaurant, close various bank accounts, and transfer and sell various other properties. He still has 2 mailing addresses, according to what we know from communication that we've had with him in the Atlanta area, but those properties are not registered under his name. He also has 1 restaurant left. He actually had a couple of restaurants. His main restaurant, which he also owned the property of, is closed, but he does have a second restaurant still open in a mall in Georgia. Unfortunately, up to this point, we're now February 22nd, 2019. Not a penny of the judgment has been collected. As was stated in the Canadian judgment, I had over $140,000 in legal fees. I had to go through 2 treatments to get cured of hepatitis C. The first one did not work. That was covered by the Canadian government. The second treatment that I went through cost me $80,000 because it was experimental. As far as my WWE contract in 2009, which was 10 years ago, despite being cured, I was never given another chance with WWE. I did have a tryout that Mr. Gerald Briscoe had obtained for me in 2016, but WWE canceled my invitation to the tryout a week before the tryout. So I did never get another chance with WWE, and no other major wrestling company has ever given me a shot. So due to this unsanitary cutting incident, I never got another wrestling chance. So he really did ruin my chances at potentially making an extremely good living at professional wrestling. So that's the update for you. And finally, I just want to throw a quick shout out to Missy Hyatt, who did a shoot interview with me last year that can be seen on the Hannibal TV. She posted a tweet about the Abdullah the Butcher retirement ceremony, saying that it was basically hard for her to watch, knowing what he did to me, and then being difficult providing his blood tests when I asked for them initially. So thanks to Missy Hyatt. There are many other wrestlers that have contacted me privately. They don't want to go public about being on my side, but that's the 2019 update. If anyone knows a good collection lawyer in Georgia, have them reach out to me, because I have not been happy, obviously, for many reasons, with my Georgia attorney. So feel free to contact me. I am on Facebook, Devon Hannibal Nicholson, Twitter at Devon Hannibal, and thank you to all the fans subscribing to my YouTube channel. It looks like my ultimate career is going to have to be as an interviewer, due to the no interest in professional wrestling companies in me anymore, and I appreciate all the fans' support.